Okay, so yesterday you saw Ben Pakulski on the treadmill, and you're probably saying, why do we have this 300-pound guy running at 9 miles per hour on a treadmill? And that's the great thing about muscle activation techniques, is it gives us the ability to assess how the body tolerates forces. So putting Ben on a treadmill and having him jogging at 9 miles an hour is basically putting a lot of forces through his neuromuscular system. And the question that we have is, how well does his body tolerate those forces? So after putting him in a controlled environment on a treadmill and putting those forces through his body, I'm able to come back and assess to determine how did the muscle system tolerate those forces. Because if the muscles can't dissipate the forces of his body weight as he's running on the treadmill, then the passive structures, the joints and passive structures become vulnerable. So coming back in the controlled environment, I was able to see that actually created muscle weaknesses in his body that we were able to treat, which in turn allows him to be able to tolerate forces even better when he leaves here. So it's part of the whole progression in muscle activation technique. One is to determine have baseline values to determine how his muscle system is working overall, and then to put in a controlled environment to put forces on his body and see how he can tolerate it. Because basically what those forces are doing are exposing vulnerabilities. And it's those vulnerabilities that we want to be able to identify here when I'm working with him, so that when he goes back to Tampa, he's able to train at a higher level.
Hey, this is IFBB professional bodybuilder Ben Pakulski, sitting at the MAT headquarters in Denver, Colorado. I just wanted to give you guys an update on my treatment, my progression, and what Greg and I have been working on over the last 2 months. So today's the end of August. I had been here for treatment 4 weeks ago and then 4 weeks prior to that. So the first time I came in June, Greg basically got my body working well with minimal amounts of stress. So the stressors he was using were manual stressors, putting my body into a really short position, really lengthened position, trying to shut down muscles that way, fix my body so that I wasn't able to shut down from manual stresses. I went home, noticed a substantial improvement in my training. That seemed to last for about 2 weeks of really, really hard training. And then I kind of noticed my body starting to break down again. So Gary brought me back out here, again, did the same type of treatment, and then we progressed into something a little further, a different type of stimulus. So we actually had me walking on a treadmill, just taking it to the point where it's almost a jog, so as fast as I can possibly walk without breaking into a jog, and then putting those additional stresses through my body, treating my body, making it able to tolerate those forces, sending me home after that. I noticed my ability to tolerate the most intense training that I could possibly generate was increased. It was about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, I was able to push it even harder, and I didn't find my body broke down at all. So typically what I would notice in the past is, for anyone who trains really hard, you know how you feel for 4 or 5 days after. You tend to get a little achy. Sometimes it's 2 days, sometimes it's 3. Sometimes it even affects subsequent workouts. So that's just your body breaking down and not able to handle these forces, to tolerate these forces. So what I'm noticing now with these subsequent treatments of MAT is my body's better able to handle the forces, so that after each workout, I'm only feeling muscular soreness. There's not a lot of joints, there's not a lot of bones, not a lot of aches and pains and bumps and bruises, if you will. So this time we're back at the end of August, and now, as you guys saw yesterday in that video, Greg had me jogging. Jogging at a quick pace, almost to the point of breaking into a run, but not quite. And that is going to now subject my body to a greater level of forces. He's going to then treat me so my body's able to tolerate those forces. He's going to send me home, and again, my goal is to try to break things for the next 4 weeks. I try to train as hard as I possibly can and try to push my level of tolerance as far as I possibly can, so that when I come back next time, maybe we're working on to something like running next time, which is strange to hear from a guy who hasn't run in 10 or 12 years. But effectively, that's the idea, is to make your body invincible to these forces you're going to subject it to. And not that I'm typically going to go home and run, but you can think the amount of force with a 300-pound man running is pretty extreme, and it's pretty different. So he's going to treat my body so that I'm able to tolerate something that extreme and that intense in those really extreme positions, so that when I go home and staying in these mid-ranges when I train, it's basically very, very little stimulus. There's not a massive amount for my body to tolerate anymore, and now I can push my training further and further and further. So what I'm noticing is tremendous amounts of hypertrophy, way better recovery, less aches and pains, less time to warm up in the gym. I used to spend 20 to 30 minutes just warming up because I was so achy, and I've been training for almost 18 years now, so that things add up. But MAT allows me to get in the gym, train harder, faster, and feel as though my recovery doesn't take quite as long. So there you have it, and hopefully we'll work into great things. I'm planning on coming every 4 weeks or so, although probably for the next 12 months, and we've got a lot of them booked out. So hopefully you guys see some great things from the progression of my physique, and I'll keep you posted on how these MAT sessions are treating me and allowing me to progress.